What's up? It's Monday night, 6 p.m. Perth time. Monday night live on LinkedIn. How is everybody doing? Happy Australia Day. Today was a day off, Australia Day. So like a true Aussie, I was down the beach. So let's wait for a few people to join the call. I'm going to log in on my phone so I can see the chat. Starting to get the hang of this now, I think. Sorry, I didn't do any post about this in advance today, because given that it was a day off, but I wanted to remain consistent. And let me just fix this light here and post for you guys anyway. Just let me fix this. There we go. I've got some pretty cool topics to talk about with you today. Given that tomorrow night is our storytelling seminar in Perth, what I was thinking of doing was talking about storytelling. Okay. Just waiting for a few people to join the call. There we go. Oh, so the thumbnail's got me drinking out of the water bottle. 27 people are here. Okay, great. 29 people. Haley, hey, good to see you. Hope you're having a good Australia Day. All right, let's get into it. People can always watch the recording later. So this is what we're going to talk about today. Storytelling, which I think is one of the most important parts of marketing in 2020. The brain, science, neurology, and content. How to use brain science in your content. Engagement pods, the topic that's causing all the controversy. And the secret to love. I'm going to talk a little bit about romance as well. So you'll have to wait to the end for that. All righty. So who else have we got here? Say hello in the chat if you're with us. I can see Haley. I know there's a bit of a delay. Who else have we got here? Haley's over in Melbourne, crushing it as usual, I expect. Okay, so there was a study called a significant object study, right? And what they did is they got 200 objects off eBay for $1 each, just over $1 each. So like things like, ornaments and things like that. And then they got, 200 objects, and then they got 200 authors to write a story for each object. It was called the significant object study. And so one ornament, it was a horse's head. It was bought for 99 cents when it had a story written attached to it about the ornament. $62.95 was the resale price, from $1 to $62.95. Overall, there was 200 items that cost $250, and they were sold for $8,000 with a story attached to them. So how is that possible? Well, it's because stories give us an emotional anchor, and we remember them. Hi, Michael Bryden, you made it. Good to see you here. Stephen, the jet lag guy in Melbourne. How are you, mate? Doug, Joseph, good to see you. Barbara, Philip, thanks for being here. Gemma Goodchild, the one and only, thanks for being here. So I just told you about the significant object study. It's pretty much categorically the way to drive emotion. When you tell stories, you're hitting 6 of the senses instead of 2 of the senses, which you do with facts. Isn't it amazing how you can go to a movie? Let's say you go to James Bond and you see James Bond and he's fighting bad guys and he's getting the girl, and you think, oh yeah, I'd like to be a bit more like that guy. And then you leave the cinema and you're walking down the street, and there you see it, sitting in the window of a shop, the same Omega watch that James Bond was wearing. And you walk inside, $15,000 that watch is, and you buy the watch and you walk out feeling more like James Bond. How is that possible? Guess how much money is spent on product placement in the movie business? Last year was $10.5 billion. So the power of story is huge in business. Smaller businesses are ignoring it. I mean, so these are some of the effects that you can create with stories, okay? So you can create dopamine, you can create oxytocin, you can create endorphins. What happens when we're experiencing dopamine in our brain? We're more focused, we're more motivated, our memory is better. It could be good to get your prospects or your sales prospects or people you're having business meetings with in that state of mind. Instead, when you're analytical, they've got cortisol and adrenaline that's showing up in their system. And let me see what my notes here. Yeah, so cortisol, intolerant, bad memory, irritable, uncreative, critical. They make bad decisions, and you're stressed. Do you ever feel like, you get stressed out and all of a sudden you feel like you shouldn't really be entering a conversation because you're not making good decisions? Well, that's what happens when cortisol and adrenaline is released in the brain. So story could actually take somebody who is stressed, experiencing cortisol, and maybe give them some endorphins or some dopamine. How do you release endorphins? Well, you tell jokes, right? Or you make people laugh. Oxytocin is what's released when a mother gives birth, right? My sister's just had a baby recently and she's got a lot of oxytocin. Oxytocin is like the trust and empathy. And that, how powerful is that if your sales prospects are experiencing that? Isaac, how are ya? Stop selling and start storytelling, Ivar. Spot on. Jeevan, Barbara, Clementine. Hey, Shield's here. We got the whole gang. It's a big party. Monday nights, mate. Place to be here on LinkedIn Live. You know it. Where was I? All right. Guess how many times we touch our phones during the day? So one study reckons that we tap, swipe, or click 2,617 times a day. Jesus. Wow. So this is where we got to be advertising, right? So what about interruption marketing, where you're like, somebody's watching a TV show and then the ads come on and you kind of interrupted? Does that stuff still work? Something to think about. When you experience endorphins, you're focused, relaxed, and you're creative. Oxytocin, generosity, trust, bonding. Stories activate 7 areas of the brain versus the 2 areas that facts do. So what are we going to do with this information? This is what I suggest we do. We create stories about our brand. I don't care if you're a startup or you're a big business or you're in a career. Everybody's got a story. You just got to write them down. And you got to work out like what the effect you want to have on the person that you're telling the story to. And you might write down 5 or 6 and you can sort of pull out which one you want to pull out when you're communicating. But if you're like a startup and you've just started your business and you're wondering, well, I don't have a story. What about your beliefs? Why did you start your business? What is it that drove you to want to make a difference in the world? Simon Sinek, as you probably know, says start with why. Why is what people connect with. People don't care what you do as much as they care why you do it. And when they know why you do it, they know how much you care. So they're more interested in listening. Who's liking Philip likes the content. Shield stories have a brilliant way of forming bonds and relationships for years. Storytelling for business and brand is powerful. Spot on. And Shield's the speaking master, man. This is like TEDx speaking coach we're talking about over here. So must be making some sense. Okay, we're going to talk about the tough stuff now. Engagement pods. All right, so I've been posting a little bit about engagement pods lately. I was in an engagement pod, was it up until a year ago, I think it was. So engagement pods, for those guys that aren't familiar, technically, I guess it's open to interpretation and they could be run differently. But an engagement pod's generally where, you do a post on let's say on LinkedIn and you have a group of people, say 20 people, and you post the link in the group and everyone will like and comment on your post. And in exchange, you will like and comment on their post. So it's like you scratch my back, I scratch yours, and you get more engagement. And it makes a lot of sense in theory as a way to hack the algorithm. So there's a couple of considerations that I think businesses or business owners or marketers need to be mindful of. One of them is, for starters, you, as a content creator, it's quite important to learn what it is that your audience wants to see and wants to hear. And until you open yourself to be vulnerable enough to see if you're getting authentic engagement, it's very hard to learn because you do learn by posting. The second thing is what happens, and I'll explain like in the context of like search engine optimization, right? So when I first started my career, 15 years ago now, it was all about search engine optimization. There were no Google ads. So you put a website to the top of Google and you could use backlink strategies, which now they call black hat, which basically you get, thousands of links linking back to your site. Therefore, Google thinks you're a more popular website and ranks you higher in the search results. And I did this for a property development company. And what happened is Google did something that I hadn't heard about at the time called an algorithm update. Anybody who's been in online marketing for longer than 15 years or 10 years knows what an algorithm update is. Well, anyone who's been in online marketing at all knows what an algorithm update is. And all of a sudden, the pages that were on the top of page 1 were on page 100. So what I'm suggesting is these platforms, whether it's Google or LinkedIn or Facebook, they want to give their users a good experience. They want to give their users an authentic experience. They don't want people to be gaming the algorithms. So yes, it's against the user agreement, but besides that, like in the long run, is it possible that LinkedIn's engineering team, like, the hundreds of staff that they've got working on making this platform better for everyone, is it possible that maybe they'll get smarter and therefore your strategies of using engagement pods won't last? They won't work anymore. And then what will happen is you just be like, the websites that ended up on page 100 of Google 15 years ago and stuck with no business, stuck with no brand. I think where engagement pods can work, and I don't even know if you call them engagement pods in this scenario because a lot of people got stigma attached to the name. But like if you have business partners that serve the same market and you want to group and you want to share your content, support each other's content, and you're actually going to contribute some value to what they post, and I think it's a great idea. What I don't think is a good idea is when you're like, you live in Perth and you service like dentists and you're going on and liking somebody's post in Europe who is like a spiritual coach that's got nothing to do with what you're doing just to get a like or a comment. Because what's going to happen is the algorithm is going to think that those are the people that follow you and those are the people you want to see in your newsfeed. So all of a sudden you're seeing all this stuff in your newsfeed which is not relevant to your business. Can waste a lot of time on social media, can procrastinate on social media. So that's my view on it, guys. But, each to their own. I've got no judgment. I'm not a member of any engagement pods anymore. I would love to see 5 times as many likes and comments on my content. But at the end of the day, I believe that I'm making more of a return on investment at the moment because the people that are watching my content want to. I hope they do. Let's see in the comments what people have got to say about all that. Okay. Greetings from Germany. Hi, Dirk. Vanessa. Oh, look at. I'll have to get back to all these comments after the live. And you drop any questions in here, guys, by the way. I'm doing this every Monday. Today I was a bit underprepared, but normally I'll post the topics in advance. But if you've got questions, you pop them in the chat and I'll answer them next week. I'll answer all of them. That's my commitment to you guys. Like Monday Night Live is a big thing. The secret to love and romance. How many minutes have we gone? So like LinkedIn, when they let people use LinkedIn Live, they want it to be at least 10 minutes in order to be a beta tester. I think we've gone 12 minutes, so that's cool. Okay, so if you are in a romantic relationship and all of a sudden things start to go a little bit south, or you don't know how to, you don't know why, like she's just complaining, or he's just complaining, or he's just the way he is, or you buy him presents and doesn't appreciate it, you spend all this time with him, he doesn't appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. Read this book, The 5 Love Languages. Everybody in a relationship needs to read this book by Gary Chapman. Even if you're single, it's worth reading this book. There are 5 different ways that people give and receive love. And you can have all of them, but they're in different priority order. So understanding what somebody's love language is can be quite valuable. Wouldn't you agree? So for example, acts of service is when you like do something for somebody else. And that's how people appreciate love. So like my mum is acts of service. If I go wash her windows, she loves it. If I buy her a present, not so much. So it's quality time is one that's important to people. Words of affirmation. Some people like hearing words of affirmation. So my tip is find out, well, first of all, read The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, and then find out who the people in your life are and what love languages they have. And you can have fun with it. Find out people at work, what their love language is. Then like, or your employees, like how to motivate them. It's amazing when you know somebody's love language, how easily you can light them up. And normally you can tell by the way that they show love or give, make people happy. Because normally the way that they want to receive it, right? That's all for Australia Day, Monday Night Live. I think we've had a lot of fun, guys. Storytelling, using the brain and neuroscience to create content, engagement pods, just sharing my view on that. Let me know your views in the comments. and the secret to romance. Have a fantastic evening, guys. If you're in Perth, make sure you come to the Storytelling for Business event we got tomorrow. It's free to attend. I'm not sure if we're sold out yet, but get over to meetup.com. If you're in Perth and you want to come, meetup.com/in-Perth is the address of our meetup. And I'm coming over to Melbourne soon for a couple of events as well, which you've been seeing me post about. But I'm going to cut it there, guys. Have a fantastic evening. One love.